on that note, did you hear that? Maybe it's just me.
I heard it.
Recording in progress. For the sake of introduction, for anyone out there listening, Bretta, it's the Inspiring Men podcast. It comes from my intention, Bretta, to try and inspire other guys out there. Full stop. I want to inspire everybody. You know, it's not like I'm gender bias, but I am a man. That's pretty certain. I'm definitely a man. And I'm really feeling like a lot of men out there, if not almost all men out there, are at a generational point in history where we're a little bit confused and lost. You know, I think the intentions for men out there are pretty good. You know, we want to do our best, probably more so than ever. There's more information out there than ever as to how to go about that. And I think we're more confused than ever as to which path to take. As an introduction, as to you, Brett Burcher, my old mate. And what's bizarre, Bretto, is that, like, fuck, man, I've known you for like at least 15 years, more like 15 to 20 years.
Easy 20 for sure.
And that doesn't work out in my head because, like, I kind of thought you're only 24. And I've known you, and I don't think I knew you at 4 years old. Are you just one of those ageless beings, or what? Good to see you, man.
You too, mate. Yeah, definitely not ageless. I'm 35, so I think our paths were crossing, I reckon, mid-teens. So, we would surf the same breaks, hang with the same crew, chasing similar things at that time of our lives. So I don't know. I feel like I've got that relationship with a lot of people in the community and afar, and also I have that under me. I think like it's like when you've got a connection that's like age is not relative. I feel like you don't really understand or take note of how old that other person is. Like some of the lads coming through that are probably in their early 20s or whatever, you watch them morph as like a physical thing, not really age, and it like somehow you move with them and they move with you and the connection just stays the same. So to go back, am I aging? Absolutely. I just had cataract surgery, which is something generally stowed upon people who are 80 years old, and I've got it. The lady at the front reception was said, "You're the youngest person I've seen come through here by 30 years." So definitely feeling the ailments, but in terms of like the broader picture, still feel 15 in a way.
Hey, Brett, we share that. Call it ageless, or just basically super open-minded without bias towards people's, so-called age in number of years, and which is why you and I connected straight up. It was an ageless connection. It had nothing to do with even the things that we're doing, which, as again, the further introduction, I know you as a surfer. I knew you as a grommet. I now know you as a man that's doing the work. I don't usually make that kind of introduction, by the way, but it's relevant to the podcast. I definitely see you as someone that's consciously growing continuously, as a man that's continuously working on becoming a better version of yourself. You did that as a surfer. You became a professional surfer. You studied, did a university degree, at least on top of whatever else you were doing. You became an educator, you became a teacher in the schooling system. And I know this is a really broad synopsis, but and please add anything that you feel like you'd like to. But I now see you as a professional breathwork facilitator, and even though there's a few words in that, it feels like it's so much more than someone that just knows how to breathe and is teaching others. I want to take a simple step back. I'd like to be able to potentially tie it into where I just left off with the breath work. Hey, Bretta, do you believe in the psychosomatic with respect to your cataracts or your cataract? Was it one or in one eye or both?
Yeah, left eye.
Okay.
Left eye.
Do you attribute physical ailments to the mind connection?
Yeah, I do. I do. And it's a good point to bring up. it's something that's crept into my life more and more as you say, you do the work and you kind of open your mind up to those possibilities. I think the way I see it is like, I don't want to sway too far to either end. Like I think that there's things outside of our control that also influence a cataract, but I think it's a culmination of things. So when it happened and when it came on really quickly within 2 weeks, but the catalyst for my eyesight to begin to uh, go downwards, like I noticed after my last bout of COVID, it was just a standard bout of COVID, but my eyes shifted in the weeks after to the point where I had to change my prescription glasses. I probably noticed like a 15% reduction in sight.
Wow.
So I feel like I definitely think that maybe the way I was feeling about COVID, or like the thoughts I'd had leading up to that, and then the thoughts I had afterwards, play a part, absolutely no doubt. But I think COVID was like that real shift for it to accelerate. And yeah, so when I found out recently, like I was mentioning to you prior to you pressing record, but it came on very quickly, like within, I could tell my eyes were deteriorating, but the left one came on within about 2 weeks and I lost probably 80% of my sight. So the cataract is like a lens. It's the lens to your eye. So it's like the window. So if you look at your eye, you got like the retina is if you look at your eye as a projector or a computer, like the retina is the computer and the cataract is the lens. And so my window was just foggy, my lens. So amazing tech. They just cut that out in 15 minutes, put a new cataract in and I can see well. It's been 3 days. I have a friend up here who is into, is it life design? Is that the correct term?
It's human design,
Human
Brett.
design, excuse me,
Yeah,
human
which
design.
which I too share. 20 years of being extremely highly influenced with human design. It's a really big part of my life's influence.
Yeah, amazing. So I chatted to her and, she's super just blunt and will tell you. And she's like, what's wrong with your left eye? And she gave me basically a few theories of why that could have been. And knowing my experiences over the last few years, the traumas I've been through, probably where my mind has led me down certain experiences, she was able to kind of just give me some hypotheticals of how certain experiences could then contribute to the eye. Excuse me. And so like I was really open-minded to that. And then there was also like I was just kind of calling people within their field who I really trusted their experience and who would give me a relatable answer for how my brain could accept it. And it was like, so speaking to a Chinese, a traditional Chinese medicine person and being like, what's it mean there? Like, what are the eyes? And they're like, well, it's the liver, right? So, and not being a big drinker and feeling like things were kind of uncontrolled there, I was just waiting for someone to say something that I really believed in. And I think there was several things that I did believe in, but I'll never know. But it's good to now have that perspective moving forward and try and catch myself thinking certain ways and try and be open to, oh, could that have contributed? What needs to shift? But right now I just needed that surgery because that was the immediate issue. And then I can grow with that understanding later.
Amazing. Yeah, it's the question that brings to my mind is whether or not the window was shutting, if that lens was locking down, if the shutters were closing, or if the shutter was actually opening up. And with respect to human design, Brett, we're here visually effectively looking into these little video recorders, these little screen things. And when you're speaking, I'm doing the same right now. Your eyes go up, your eyes gravitate upwards. And if your experience is the same as mine, this is a question. I go inwardly when I'm starting to process stuff. So I've got, by human design, a design for inner vision. So when things are being processed for me, I can't help not to do it effectively. I just have this effectively this lockout of the outside world, and I go inwardly. And like, I know it sounds to you, does it sound like everyone does that? They just don't. It's something I do, and I'm thinking that it's something that you do as well. You have a predisposition towards inner vision, is what I'm suggesting by hypothesis. And I'd say there's a connection there between your lens effectively closing down to open you into a deeper processing world that can allow you to actually make sense of the things that you come up against, be it COVID or whatever it may be. Throwing that on the table anyway.
I think, yeah, you nailed that just quickly. Like I wrote that down the other day. I was like, did this happen to like, I needed an artificial lens brought in to then move into this new chapter. It was like an ending of that and bringing a new. So I completely agree to a degree with what you say.
And it's yeah, without judgment, to lose one eye, we've been given two for a reason, you know, to temporarily be sacrificial of your sight through one eye so that you can actually up level or expand into a deeper state of consciousness or a more expanded state of consciousness, let alone have the fucking surgical and, you know, medical prowess to be able to bring that eyesight back once the shutters have done their job. What a blessing. What a great opportunity.
Man, I can't believe it. Just made me so appreciative of the time we like. Imagine there was no option for that and you were 35 and you couldn't see out of that eye. Like my surfing was, I couldn't surf anymore. I could, you know, I could have carried on for sure, but I would have been impaired. And it was, yeah, I was just so thankful that we're at a time where that can happen. And, you know, they do up to 20 of those a day. They just come in,
Wow.
like doing them, you know, and the recovery is like, I'll be back in the water in a month. And like, I just went for a run. Like I'm back to normal duties. I'm back at work and it's just incredible. It's 3 days, you know? So yeah, I think it's given me that lens as well, is like, yes, it's another opportunity for you to be grateful and to move forward with this. And yeah, like I said, the computer part is still the same. You're just able to see clearer now by something they've given you. So use it.
I'd say the computer part is actually, you just upgraded your processing chip as well. Quick shout out to the Fred Hollows Foundation. Hey, like I don't know that much about the intricacies of what they do, but you know, you said 20 cataract surgeries a day. They're doing that, you know, en masse over in places where people get accustomed to not being able to use their physical gifts, even after they're gone. So anyway, that's cool. I'm really stoked that you've got that access to be able to be everything you want to be in on all levels, man. Metaphysically, physically, mentally. Hey, Bretto, the biggest thing that I want to speak to is effectively the path that you've taken with relation to how other men can potentially take inspiration from it. The path I'm speaking to is personal growth, basically. Moving through the unveiling or the unfolding of the stuff that we've been stuck by unconsciously in our past. And I think when I saw you and when I was part of your breathwork session that you ran down here in Ulladulla less than a month ago now, I came to realize that the majority of people in that room were not people that normally do that kind of stuff. And I think you'll agree. And what you brought to them was not only an incredible facilitation and tool to be able to open up, but you gave them permission to move into a world that they haven't actually been given permission to otherwise before that session. And that's really what I wanted to bring you in here for, to talk to you about how we can do that more. And obviously breathwork is an extremely great channel to do it, because we all fucking breathe. We're born breathing. It's something that is so innate that we can tap into it no matter who we are. Yeah, that's a really broad statement without even a question at the moment. What are your thoughts on it, man? Like, how do we go about just taking these steps towards becoming more peaceful with ourselves, generally speaking. I want to like set out a roadmap, man. It doesn't have to be right or wrong. I just want to start, really finding some clues here.
Yeah. Thank you for acknowledging that around the session that took place down at home. That is pretty much currently my key intention, is to offer up a safe space for people who wouldn't usually attend, wouldn't usually step into that space for reasons like completely circumstantial to them and valid, right? Like we've all grown up in a way conditioned to, I guess, judgment and fear, and anything to do with the unknown is kind of scary for any reason for you. So letting them know firstly that like you feel like that too, and you're susceptible to other situations. This is just something that you're currently pushing on them, or not pushing on them, but like bringing them into your area that you can see benefit to them. But knowing, like, just being relatable and sharing your vulnerabilities and being like, I am you. I feel the same as you. We've kind of essentially grown up the same sort of way, and like I'm not going to judge you for that, and like hold that because it's working for you in certain ways, but it's also not. And the things that aren't can be helped via the breath. So like that, that's why I moved into this space, because the more learnings I did and the more experience I had around it, I realized that I was taking maybe 60% or 70%, but I was still potentially judging and dismissing another 30% because it wasn't sitting for me. It wasn't landing for like the person I am at this moment because of the experiences and the learnings and the like my soul is. And I know that along our coastline in my generation of men and women, everyone is like that, right? You can only take so much and you can only connect to so much. So giving them relatable, practical examples of how to use it and how it services you. So and then the techniques to do that, and give them a platform to be able to do them in the moment, observe how they feel, so then they can envision how they will move that back into their life. I think for me, that's the way that I want to work it. I mean, there's a million answers of how to get people involved, but it's like speak to them, right? Speak to their pains, speak to the way that they receive information, show them some information, and then off they go. And the more people you do that to, the more that are going to lean into that, and then the space is going to expand, I'd say.
Oh man, yeah, you did say it, and I couldn't agree more. It's just to reflect that back at you, Brett, that gift that you've got, which to you and your complete humility as per usual, is something that I'm pretty sure you don't even recognize. But your gift is to be that bridge, between the platform of elevated consciousness, obviously relative, that you find yourself upon, progressive and relative, all in one, to the world of men that are maybe a couple of steps sideways or behind on the same path moving forward, and to be able to give that humble guidance to those men in such a way that it's actually received, to those people, I should say. I'll stop banging on about men versus women. It's irrelevant for now. That's an incredible gift, mate. And, again, it's not something that I speak to myself of in the mirror looking back at myself, but it's my goal as well. I think it's for you and I both, it feels really valid to be able to pursue these personal paths and to be able to share them to as many people as possible. We both share that ability to be able to speak to people without there being a sense of being holier than thou or some woke guy that's inaccessible. I think it goes back to, again, that conversation we had about agelessness or unbiasedness towards whatever age someone may be. You and I share that. perception that age doesn't mean shit. Gender certainly doesn't mean shit. Going back to that reference, degrees of perceived wisdom, we understand as a complete fallacy, you know, like as if we can understand how wise someone is or otherwise. And therefore we are all equal, you know, that's how I perceive it. You know, we're all equal. I have no ability nor sense of righteousness that I know anything more about someone else's experience or anything about someone else's experience other than what they're presenting me with. And I know there's a hell of a lot more beyond that that I may never know. You know, I'm struggling to find out those things within myself. So how can I possibly find those things out with you or anyone else? What we're doing right now is massaging that concept, is trying to get to be, as you spoke to, open and honest, authentic, vulnerable. Vulnerable is the word that I really usually land on with these conversations, trying to really exert the notion that if we actually express the things that we're not so content with, that we're a little bit, you know, fearful or scared about in how it relates to our own personal experience, the more it gives everyone else that permission as well. So then for me, if we can couple that, hey, guess what? I'm kind of fucked right now. Guess what? Yeah, I'm struggling, you know, I'm worried about this, whatever it may be. If we can actually say that, do the work, or having done the work, and have that conversation with whoever it is in the car park when we're checking the surf, saying, yeah, mate, so it's pretty average. And I've been pretty worried about paying the mortgage, let alone my relationship. But hey, you know, have you ever tried breathing? Like, it's funny, hey, we're just breathing. And just to also, last but not least, Brett, I don't want to diminish what you're facilitating as a breathwork guide, as a breathwork facilitator, because it's breathing and it's also basically more than that, because it's deep levels of conscious breathing that most of us really have never had the opportunity to practice without that guidance of those who've walked before us. So that's awesome. So that's you're the bridge, without judgment, without bias. You're vulnerable, you're authentic, and you're consciously walking that path to trying to get to know more for the sake of yourself and for others. We're doing the same, and we want everyone to be able to join us as much as possible consciously. That's all. It's just, hey, set the intention, plant the seed. I want to get happier, full stop. I want to get more peaceful with this. I want to make this life feel like I'm getting better at it, at least. So we breathe.
Oh yeah, sorry.
No, I'm done. I'm done. Too long already.
I think it's like, yeah, when you say it's more than breath work, like, sure, I've just started to run these sessions and you have somewhat just stepped into your space also, but it's not like you just started to do that, right? You're shaped by your whole life, and it's allowed you to step into that role and be relatable. So I feel like I'm going back to what you were speaking about 5 minutes ago, that it's just the way that you operate and the way that you are and have connected with people over the years. They're your audience and they're the ones you need to speak to. And if you can simplify it like that and try not to speak to everyone, I feel like, because by speaking to everyone, you're potentially not going to speak to anyone. And who comes to you for your for support by you probably won't come to me, right? For the different reasons. And it's really cool. And so what I'm trying to get at there is the more people that are opening up that space for people to come, then you were catering for all these diverse people and needs. And it's just letting people this is from my perspective and how I want to show my work and draw people in, is you think like with little bits of change that you're just going to change. And I know for me, like, I had a niggling desire to do this or just to shift, and I knew I had to shift, but I was pretty like reliant and stoked on how I'd lived and who I was and the friends I had, the jobs I'd made, and I was comfortable in that. And I felt like changing, I was going to open myself up to, like, everything was going to change. I was going to lose those relationships. I was going to maybe like get judged. I was going to, I don't know, just not be the same person. And that was worrying because I was like, I've got it quite good. Like my life's good, but it's not like great, or it's not what I know it could be. And, you know, like she'll be right. And like chances are, yeah, she will be right, but she's not going to be like true. And so once you take those small steps in that direction and you move towards it, it kind of then everything like moves towards you. And then you're like, oh, I don't have to, like, I'm just being me. I haven't really changed. I've actually like come back more to myself, and people actually feel better around you. Like your connection with your mates and that actually grows because energetically, whether they're onto it or not, they just know that it's like a more real. And then that goes for everything in your life. If you start showing up more real, the weight behind everything is dropped off, and you've got tools behind you to service you when things are getting overwhelming, or when you know, maybe perhaps need to feel that way you did before. So it's just letting people know that life can roll on. You can keep your family, you can keep your job, you can still party, you can like do what you want, do what makes you happy, but just open up a bit more. And if that's what you want to do, right? Open up if you want, breathe if you want, get help if you want, speak to someone if you want, let someone speak to you if you want. That's it.
That is it. It's perfect. Fuck, man, you wouldn't have seen me just smiling from ear to ear, where effectively in my internal experience, I was just feeling everything that you said really deeply, man. That's it. All those things I'll just repeat really quickly for both of us, Alex, and anyone out there. You know, breathe if you want. Go for a run if you want, which you did prior to this podcast, which is at a ridiculously early time slot in the morning. So prior to 6:30, you'd already gone for a run. You'd already had enough energy left in you to press boil on the kettle. I've never actually said that out loud. Do we press boil? What do you press? Anyway, we boil the water. We press something. We put the kettle on the fire. Put the billy on the fire. You collected the wood and got the fire going and got the billy going, and you made your cup of whatever it is, and then you presented with at least 1.5 eyes, half an eye still internally processing and upgrading in the computer chip, and the other one looking at me, to be here because you wanted to. We can do anything we fucking want without judgment, right? Like we can shut down. Like we've got every right to go. I don't want any of this open trip that you're banging on about, vulnerability and authenticity. Guess what? I'm locking down. I'm locking out of this shit. I wouldn't suggest that as an advocacy for people trying to find advice here and running with it. What I'm advocating for, and I think it's the same as you, is that we're all individual, and whatever it is that we have a niggle for, using your terminology, and run with because it innately feels right, is right until it's not. So again, that's where we remove all our biases and judgments, because how the fuck are we, who are we to judge others and, you know, whatever leanings they're moving with, even if it's shutting down. You know, people have processes that we can't even possibly relate to, and to actually put up the shields and go inner, like maybe that's going to up level that person to a new state of consciousness that, you know, is beyond our comprehension. People go into caves for years, decades. But, you know, that's a pretty bizarre concept. So there's no rules whatsoever.
Yeah, and
Breathing might be a rule.
No, but it's interesting opening up these spaces where you've got 10 individuals in a room. There's no better teacher, or there's no better way to constantly be reminded that everyone operates differently, because you have 10 people that come out of that feeling completely different, share with you a different situation. You watch them throughout the evening or throughout the session react differently. And one person might be really calm and having a down regulating time, calm. The other person might be extremely emotional. The other person may be asleep. The other person may be getting intuitive visions that's helping them through a problem. Like it's just, and that's just within a small case study in front of you in 2 hours. So you walk out of there going, I know nothing. So I'm not going to push anything on them as such. I'm just going to give them a place where they can tap into themselves and see what arises. Give their body permission to tell them what it needs and allow them to listen to that.
Oh man, okay. I knew there's a reason why we're doing this together, Brett. So you're just repeating the message that's more than a niggle for me, and that is that the message is let's just become open to who we are as individuals. Let's become more and more open, call it vulnerable if you want. Let's basically just expose ourselves, not to everyone else, but to ourselves, to work out where these niggles, where these leanings, where these somatic or embodied experiences are speaking to us in such a way that we get to say, yeah, that's who I am. Maybe just right now in time and place. Maybe it's, you know, the person that we were for that 2 minutes or 15 minutes at the end of the breathwork session with you that we go, oh, wow, I feel like a different person. And there's a message in that. There's a symbol of, you know, potentially expansion because we're getting to know, or we've got to know an aspect of ourselves that we hadn't recognized prior to that. We've had this amazing facilitation of being open to whatever it may be. If we heard that call, as we recognize what's going on inside our body and the feeling is different to what we've felt before, we get to say, yeah, okay, the message of being open to these things has been heard. And I go, okay, this is me. This is a new part of me that I got to feel. That's all I'm advocating for as well, man. I just want people to be able to accept is the word they use, usually acknowledge to begin with. Yeah, look, it's the only cliche little 2 cents worth of wisdom I come out with repeatedly, Brett, and that is that I want us all to be able to acknowledge as the individuals that we are, the feelings that we're experiencing, you know, the discomfort, the worries, like I spoke to, the elation, the propulsion, the momentum, you know, all of the things that seem to be within us. I want to acknowledge them, go, okay, maybe I've got judgment to it, but regardless, can I move to accept this experience? Oh, fuck, I'm going blind in one eye progressively in a really accelerated rate. Fuck knows it. You know, how can we possibly just go, yeah, cool, whatever, I accept that completely. But you did have to acknowledge that. There's no two ways about it. And in your process, as I intuit and, you know, presume to some extent from an outsider's perspective, you started to develop a process of acceptance by making meaning or making some sense of understanding about what was going on. And it's coupled, again, this is me, you know, imposing upon you what your process was. But for most of us, generally speaking, we start to develop acceptance. Okay, this is shit, but it's me and I can't be free from it right now. Can I make sense of it? Okay, well, I'll accept it enough to go, okay, I'm open to whatever may be cued or be symbolized by this experience. And can I also move forward? Can I expand into an experience that allows me to become free from it? Can I find a solution? Can I find an expert that's going to guide me here? Can I find the expert within myself? And yeah, that's what I'm hoping for all of us. And again, I do specifically speak to men because they usually don't have the gentle voice of guidance, you know, coming to them. You know, our fathers typically did a relatively good job or otherwise, but they're not the gentle voice of wisdom because we disavow that from the time we hit about 13 or 14. We go on our own path and we look to our peers, our uncles and our brothers to do that, which is what you and I are standing in the shoes of. What do you reckon, Brett? Acknowledgement, acceptance, openness. Is there anything else that, you know, we're breathing? I'm just going to put my hand up and say we're drinking good water as well. We're doing some exercise. We're sleeping.
Yeah, all the habits. Hey, I think. Oh, I mean, I'm just stuck on like thinking about you know, the previous generation did a good job, and our peers, like, they did an unreal job, and we're all doing and did as we know and what we've been taught. And I think it's just, yeah, open-mindedness and finding what works for you. And the only way you're going to find what works for you is by trying things and being open to things, right? If you currently have that niggle, or you currently have a desire to shift and to want to accept, then you're going to have to be challenged, and you're going to have to put the work in. And that just means showing up repetitively to it. Because the way, I don't know how, if you're hardwired like this, but I am. If I just try something once, or even a breath session, I'll go and do a breath session, feel so open after. I'm like, oh my God. And then an hour later, I'm back just running off the same automated program. And you don't even know like what's available, and you can't even tap back into that state. You can't feel into it. So showing up to it consistently, working through those challenges and working through the complications and shitstorm that like the inner work does, and understanding and accepting that that is part of the process, so that you just make incremental shifts towards something. And it's never ending, right? You might like move in one space, and then that might not service you anymore, and you've got to change. So it's just like finding a way to be adaptable, put yourself in those positions and open to them, move with it, and accept the bad times, and accept that like every complication, every shit feeling, and every time you feel like, what, I'm going to throw the towel in, this whole game is ridiculous. Like that's happening for some sort of reason, and you'll look back on that, and every negative situation genuinely like that requires growth, you look back on in a year's time and go, I'm so glad that happened. So it's just like constantly putting that perspective on. And it's the hardest thing to do, is to wear those goggles like in the moment, because you just want to feel good and you want to feel all right. But if you want to make change and you want to live true, then I think it's like accepting that that feeling of everything be all right is going to be fleeting, probably forever now. And it's like almost, you spend almost as much time, probably more time, uncomfortable and uncertain and challenged and confronted. You actually do, but you accept it, and you come to almost, it just becomes the norm, and you begin to like love it and own it. And it's pretty crazy. So I guess I went the whole way around there, but to know that like just because you're having 5 shit days in a row, like everyone is, and it's just, yeah. So owning that, and it's not hiding from it anymore. And that's just life. Yeah. So I guess what I try and use an analogy in my breathwork workshop to try and get everyone to understand that, because I know when we speak about this, and when you're trying to relate to people, sometimes they're like, what is he's just gone off on 5 different tangents trying to get the point across. So it's like, all right, simple analogy. Breath work is showing up to a stagnant bath of water that's been sitting there, right? You might just do one session. It might just get the water moving a little bit. The intention behind it, or the goal perhaps, may be to get that bath clean of that water, or get the water that's in there completely out, so that we can put some new water in, have a new vessel to move along with. But every time you do the breath, water will tip out, water will spill out. You'll find pockets of clear water, you'll find dirty water. You'll be able to see what's underneath, and there's going to be hidden bath toys in there, which are going to be emotions, feelings, things you didn't know were there, things you did, but you've been too worried to get them. You can start looking at them, playing with them if you want, chucking them out or keeping them in, whatever you want to do. And you're working your way to the bottom of that bath. But in the meantime, someone's coming in, just putting that tap on higher pressure and filling it back up and throwing more toys back in. And you've just got to like just laugh at that and be like, yeah, classic. Okay, here we go again. Process again. Just keep moving that water. That's, if that hits one person's understanding, then we're good.
Fuck yeah. Thanks, Brett. I had so many big smiling moments throughout that. The most the most inner joy I had was when I heard you say, yeah, you just gotta love it. And I just had this picture of the boxer just in the ring, just fists up, just like boom, he's copped another just full just roundhouse to the, not roundhouse, we're no longer a boxer, we're a kickboxer. He's had a roundhouse kick to the head, gets a basically a left hook to the other side. He's like, bang, bang. I fucking love this. And it's hopefully without so much, well, it's with whatever energy it comes, but we want to love it. And if that feels like a really far stretch, if that feels like a far stretch of your capacity to be able to lean into the discomfort, at least, you know, I agree, man. Let's really move towards it. The absurdity component that you spoke to really helps me as well. Just go, oh man, like this is funny shit. This is so not funny, but it's funny. Like this is actually bordering on absolutely fucking absurd, really. And there I am, fucking main actor. It's like center stage. Everyone spotlights on me. The audience actually just became like huge, like universal. It's on the World Wide Web, and everyone's just going, "Holy fuck! Can you believe that guy in the spotlight is experiencing that shit right now?" And we get to watch, and then you're the guy in the spotlight going, "Fuck!" And that's me. This is fucked up shit. Fuck it, I love this shit. This is obviously what I'm here for. I caveat that a little bit with setting intentions for everything. So taking a step back, we have to get match fit to be that bloke in the absurd stage play of our lives, or, you know, center stage in the ring, copping left and right hooks to the head. We need to get match fit, and I really advocate, like I hear you speak to practice into it, to lean into it on a regular basis. You know, we never perfect it. We just need to practice getting better at it. Taking a little breath because I got a little bit excited, Bretto. I agree. Like when you spoke to life can feel pretty good, but if you're honest with yourself, it's extremely rare, if ever, that you go, yeah, it's great. Like great to me is kind of like perfect, which I don't believe in. Like I can always find elements of my life that if you really want to get down and dirty with things, I can say, yeah, this is not ideal. You know, that's always going to be the case. So yeah, it's this perpetual state of practicing, doing the training, getting match fit towards becoming comfortable with those discomforts. For me, it's you know, the assortment of my practices, or, you know, using those tools in the toolkit. I do speak and advocate to meditation in whatever form, and I use that without, you know, like some kind of highbrow view of what meditation should be. You don't have to be levitating in lotus position. I very much consider breath work to be a meditation. Running and swimming, likewise, depending on where your mind's at, regardless. Yeah, getting match fit's really important. There was one more thing that I wanted to speak to you that you mentioned, and it's actually just passed me by for the moment. But man, like again, it's getting comfortable. It'll come in a moment. It's getting comfortable with all of this and being open to it and learning to accept it and learning to get more comfortable with it, to be expressive of it. I speak to all the time as well. Like get it out. That's the vulnerability. It's to yourself, but it's to others as well. It further impacts in a positive way that the felt experience, and it becomes shared. We are all interconnected. You and I are connected right now. And guess what? When I tell you that my relationship is this or that, you take that on, you know, and you feel that alongside me. And somehow I feel a little bit better about things because I felt that you felt it, and therefore we're connected. That really, really helps me. Whatever I was thinking of as the last part of what I had to say will come, but regardless, man, well, yeah, I just wanted to say we don't have to be doing it in the boxing ring, and we don't even necessarily have to be climbing mountains. You know, we don't have to be going for Everest here. Like if Everest is pure peace, the peak where you put your flag on top, we don't have to be the guy that basically is in the death zone for 3 days in a blizzard, losing fingers to frostbite, doing that kind of fucking work to get to put that flag on top. like we can maybe just go for base camp. Let's just go for a nice, relatively challenging but steady rise to base camp where we can still breathe without oxygen tanks or a Sherpa throwing us over his back. And we can ask for a ride that is gentle and fluid. It doesn't have to be fucking punches to the head or fingers lost in the death zone. We can actually intention an easy ride of expansion. And that's really the point I was trying to find. I think it's really important to know that we have those choices. We can choose anything we want, Brett. When you spoke before about your eye, I couldn't help to wonder, man, like whether or not it's part of your design, human design, or whether it's part of your life experience, one and the same. That is, that you find yourself someone that is presented with an absurd situation that's arose relatively unexpectedly and at an accelerated rate. Is that something like before this cataract in the eye that came upon you 2 weeks ago or whatever it was, really quickly and shockingly by the sounds of it? Is that something that happens for you? Are you that kind of person?
That what sort of person? Sorry.
That has experiences that are fairly accelerated in their unexpected onslaught.
It's hard for me to know because I probably previously wasn't looking for it, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm someone who through my late teens through to mid 20s, like I experienced quite a fair few injuries. But in that time, I was living my life around like go hard, play hard, and that was just the consequence of doing that. So I wasn't aware of anything like that. I wasn't thinking in this space. I was just like, sure, if I'm surfing heavy waves and I'm training hard, like my body is going to blow out from time to time. So
Let alone, Brett, let me just add very quickly for the sake of people that don't know you as well as I do, there may have been a superhuman that believed he could jump off the roof of a tall building and land on relatively soft ground beneath, but it was still grass on soil, and walk away, which you probably did actually, but with consequences.
yeah, and it's funny when I look back at that now, and I was open to that. Probably, I realized later on in life that happened. It's not it happened for a reason, but I took the reasoning out of that and ran with it. So it prior to doing that, that was a drunken incident, completely reckless, right? But just signified me at the time. I was about to jump into a tiling apprenticeship. That's where my mind was. I was 20, 19, about to come out of the junior series, which when you're a young surfer, there's this bubble that you live in. It's the junior series competition where you travel the East Coast surfing and you're competing against all other surfers under 20 years old. So it gives you a good idea of where you're situated in terms of talent and potential future in the sport. And it's reason I call it a bubble is because if anyone asks you, what are you doing with your life? I'm on the junior series. It's like this little place you hide in before you make decisions or before you know if sponsors want to support you to go and surf at that higher level potentially. And I kind of felt like I didn't have it in me and I wasn't receiving any financial support and I was laboring at the time to be being a tiler and paver. And I was literally on the precipice of doing that, not like forever, but I was like, I'm going to lock into a year, do the TAFE out at Western Sydney and become a tiler, have that behind me, which more than likely would have led me down that track. And that injury was forced rest, forced perspective change, forced time out to go like, nah, that's not me. And then that moved me into teaching. So like those injuries and all that, I'm just speaking to this, like things haven't come on accelerated, but they've always shown me something. And then I'm going to go back to what you said before that, is that when you said you don't need to be losing fingers, you don't need to be losing toes. Like if the niggle is small, like be gentle with it, do small steps, right? If there is no niggle, don't do, like, if you're stoked with your life, you don't need to do this. You're already probably a solid person. You're probably already, like, the way that you're operating is working for you, and that is sick. And like when you say expressions too, like it doesn't have if you're not someone who wants to go and talk to someone, like you can write stuff down. It's just like doing
Absolutely.
the thing, doing thing. And the reason why I advocate for, sorry, I'm jumping around here, write stuff down, start a journal, start small, get a few sentences on the page daily, just start to write and share those things so that they're not bubbling under the surface or they're not festering. Because it can essentially be the same as talking, but it's your own private way of getting them out and what works for you. And then I'm speaking a lot about breath because that's the realm I'm in, but breath work is so low key. And that's why I love it, because a lot of the time it's already uncomfortable, let alone going and exposing yourself to that. Like doing the work is uncomfortable, and exposing yourself to other people and letting people know is potentially not up your alley. So a lot of the breath work you can do is in private. We could be like, while you're talking on here, I'm doing breath work. No one knows. And it's subtle, but it regulates you on the day to day. And then you can go and do your deeper transformational release style breath works in private. No one needs to know. It's just your little operating system that works for you. So I just wanted to speak to that too, before we go back onto that injury tangent.
Yeah, they're such important messages, Brett. Thanks, man. And yeah, just further reinforcing stuff that for me it's really positive to hear as well, because I am absolutely experiencing in a world where there's a lot of influence to advocate for, do your therapy in whatever form, talk to others, open up, blah, blah, blah. And I do find myself, as I did before, just giving that message out loud to others as well from here. And you're right, man. It doesn't have to be that way. The expression is effectively, using that term again, it's just to be open within yourself. I'm just hoping that we can, if we've got a niggle, like you said, if you don't, fuck yeah, I agree. Well done. Like, why would you change something that's not broken? But on the flip side, you don't have to be broken to be given enough of a message that maybe there is an expression that needs to be made. So the expression is simply just open up to what that niggle is, open up to what that little discomfort may be, even if you're not basically catatonic and ready to be ambulanced up to the psych ward. You don't have to be broken. Just little discomforts a cue, as far as I'm concerned. I'm just checking in with myself as I speak to these things. Any discomfort is a cue for you to get to know what's beneath that. And the expression is just getting to know that experience. It's, in other words, having a conversation with yourself or with others through the written word, through the spoken word, through movement, through dance, through dancing on water, through dancing the tango, through moving into your body, with this premise that oxygen and breath coming into our nasal passage and into the lungs is beneficial, which there's no way I'm arguing that it's not. Move with all of these notions that if you allow into the dreaming that there's a possibility, or imagine into the scenario that direction you feel inclined towards moving, like you've spoken to with your intuition to move one way or another, Brett, just give it a go. Try it out. That's the expression. That's becoming open. And that's where you get to explore and understand the discomfort. And that's where you get to hopefully make meaning of what's going on and become free from not only the experience that's been tying your head in knots with all the thoughts that you've been trying to find solutions with, but also allows your body to go, okay, thank you for giving me this acknowledgement, for pausing for that breath, pausing for that moment. And just accepting that something's going on that needs some attention. That in itself is often enough combined with a little bit of unraveling of the thoughts. In other words, not paying so much attention, placing that spotlight so fucking discernibly on using thoughts as a solution maker. If we can get out of that headspace and into our intuitive expression, I think we're halfway there at least. The boxing ring no longer feels so threatening. The foothills ever revealing a higher foothill towards mountain peaks. We're just in flow, like we're just one step in front of the other, one day at a time, and we're not even looking towards the death zone, the whatever, where that flag's meant to be put down. It doesn't matter. We don't even carry flags anymore. Fuck the flags.
Agree. Well said.
Hey, Brett. Yeah, thanks.
Pleasure, mate. Absolute pleasure. Always up for these sorts of chats. They're a necessary way for us to learn, because when you're put on the spot with a question, it's a bit of a reflection of where you're at currently too. So I love speaking about it. And again, it's doing, this is kind of doing the work in itself, right? Opening up. You don't know what's coming at you. That can be vulnerable, and you're forced to think on the fly, and it can be uncomfortable, and it's all part of this journey. But I think the more of these conversations you have, and the more that you're able to practice expressing your truth and what things mean to you, it's only beneficial for you and for other people to hear it too. So hopefully the more conversations that are had land with more people out there. And congrats to you for getting this happening, and for you on your pursuit of what you're up to, and having this podcast that's allowing people the space to talk and to listen. Yeah, good on you, and thanks for catching up as a mate and on here. And there's some nice looking gun behind you. I've been eyeing
I
off.
know, seriously.
That's
That's a podcast. That's a podcast in itself, Brett. That board and what it symbolizes, all the struggles and head fucks that it symbolizes, let alone joys and triumphs. Hey, Brett, just quickly, is there anywhere that people? I'll get these details from you afterwards as well. But just, is there anywhere that people can look into more of what you're doing?
There is, yeah. So currently, I'm just got an Instagram page, which sounds funny, but at Burcher. But I'm probably a fortnight off releasing a website, and with that website is going to be some offerings to come along on an 8-week or a 10-week journey. Journey being that it's just a repetitive, consistent showing up through the week, running some Zoom sessions, learning the breath, practicing the breath, and me being a kind of mentor through that. So I'm going to be offering that up, yeah, probably in the next 2 weeks, which is exciting, because I've been doing a lot of workshops, it's been awesome. And I've been able to build a bit of a community and show up to these different areas and breathe and workshop with people. But it's with a young family, it's just unsustainable to try and do that a lot with the travel. So I really wanted to bring this and make it accessible to as many people as possible, wherever they may be, and make it fit into their lives, so they can just jump on for 90 minutes a week and then have my support around the clock via like a WhatsApp channel. So if that sounds enticing to anybody, please come on board. But that's where you'll find me, Instagram and the website.
Brett Burcher on Instagram. Hey, Brett, one thing that I've always been really keen on, and that is across the various industries that I've worked in professionally over my life, which have been competitive industries. It's always been like sharing is caring, that the more that we can help each other out, the better things are for everybody. Taking this selfish perspective and going a little bit beyond the me and mine and everything that I want, and getting more into that collective spirit of hoping that we can all move in the right direction together. No need to answer to this right now, but I'd love to get your program linked up to my website so that people can access it through that. The way I'm going at the moment is yeah, I really want to be able to open that channel, that portal of all the things that I really advocate for, that I really believe in, and the people that are doing that as a more centralized, not even a more centralized place, but I want people to be able to access this stuff in every way they can. So I'd love to link you up on my website so people can access your breathwork program, because it's huge, man. It's just when I saw you do the work, and the more I feel into it, it is just the most wonderful channel of getting to know ourselves on a deeper level in a way that is accessible to everybody. And that's what I want. I want that for everybody. Full stop. Thanks for the kind words with respect to what you spoke to with reference to doing the work that we're doing on a personal level. It's always that combination of selfishness and selflessness. And I was drawn to speak to you because I've always been inspired by you from even the time that you're a young Grommy, with all the things that inspired me then through to now. They've transformed, but there's an essence about you that I've always seen in you and been inspired by. And selfishly, these opportunities to have conversations allow me to affirm effectively my instincts and to get to know you better with reference to the radical, accelerated, transformational experiences of your life. I don't know if that's the case either, but I'm glad that your eyesight's coming back in your physical way. But no doubt that inner processor is just, working somatically and holistically, better than ever. So I really sense that, and I'm honored, man. I really am. So selfishly, I wanted to be able to share more with you, and that feels like a felt experience achieved. Have a great day, brother. Thanks so much, Brett, and let's keep on chatting.
Thanks, mate. You too. All the best. Have a wonderful day, and hopefully see you down south soon.
Yeah, you better. See you, mate.
Cheers, mate. Bye.